Hey guys, welcome to a little recreation series. I'm going to be attempting to build Raptor from Cedar Point, which is a B&M inverted roller coaster. I've only been to Cedar Point once, as it's really far away from where I live, and I flew there last year. Really loved the park, loved the place. Always wanted to go there, and I really enjoyed a lot of the rides. I actually wanted to build a recreation of Maverick, sorry, and I played around with it, and then I just ended up building Raptor for some reason, and I just kind of kept going along with it. So that's what I'm going to show you. So today I'm just going to basically just bash out the layout of the ride. I had a problem with the loop. I really don't like the loops in the game. They're too round, and I really wanted to have that really nice vertical loop look going on that the B&M coasters have, especially the invert coasters. And I actually made a tutorial about a year or so ago about how to make the loops look better, and now I tried that technique on this ride, but it didn't seem to be working. I think there's a problem with the track edit mod, so I've just had to settle with a standard loop in the game. I actually used two half loops so that the exiting part of the loop was slightly shorter than the first part of the loop, so that it could have a path to go underneath it later on. But anyway, I'm going to just kind of do the layout. I want to try and get it as accurate as I can with the limitations of the game, obviously. I do run into a few problems, one of them being the final helix. If I leave the pre-drop of the ride how it should be, which is quite small, then there's not actually any space for the helix at the end of the ride between the brake run at the station and the lift hill. In real life, the lift hill, or the station I should say, is actually at a slight angle, so as the lift hill goes away from the station, it creates a wider space. That's not possible in the game. I could have maybe done a diagonal lift hill, but then I couldn't use catwalks and that kind of thing to build the lift supports, and that's something that I really wanted to do, so I've just stuck with it being more square. That just means that the pre-lift hill section is going to be slightly bigger than it is in real life, and that's something I'm okay with as long as the recreation is somewhat looking like the real thing. So there is actually a recreation of Raptor on Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 that somebody made. It is the most incredible thing you'll ever see. It's so good. If you find it, check it out, download it or whatever. It's really good. I don't plan on copying that person's style or the way that he did it. This isn't intended to be like a recreation of the real thing. This is just my own kind of version of a recreation, also in a different game, and I'm just going to try and, you know, put my style into it, as well as it being as realistic as I can make it. So now I'm just trying to play with the track edit mod there a little bit and just adjust those corkscrews just so that I can give myself a bit more space with this helix here. As I mentioned before, I'm having problems with the helix and fitting it in this space and with the station, etc. But you'll see in a second how much wider the whole station and the lift hill needs to be. So to build this recreation, I've actually done some research, looked at some pictures. Even though I've been there myself and I've ridden the ride, I can't really remember some of the details. Some of the things in my head aren't really fixed in my brain, and so I'm trying to basically just look at pictures and try and recreate what I see in the pictures by using the pieces in the game. One of the best ways of doing that is going on Google Earth. You can actually go on Street View in Cedar Point and look around. So I did that, and as I go along, things aren't quite right, and I go back and change them and make little edits and change some of the details here and there. I mean, I built one of these, a small building near the ride later on, and I don't actually know what the building is, and then I actually found it on Google Earth, and then I realised what it was, so I go back and edit it. So that kind of thing happens throughout this build. And the support work that I do, it takes a really long time, so I just do it a little section at a time. So I start off with the lift hill, and then until I kind of move on to the next section of the ride, I don't really bother going around doing the supports because that can take hours, and it's really a lot of work to do the support work, but it's something that I really want to do because it really makes a ride look like what it should. So I'm just having problems here with lining up the track with the track edit mod. It's a problem that I run into quite often, is when you use a diagonal slope piece that the game doesn't actually do but the track edit mod does. When you use it, it takes the coaster off grid, and so when you come to line it back up again, it's really difficult, but I managed to get it connecting there. So I play around with the train colour quite a lot because the way it is in real life can't actually be done in the game with the certain colours. So I've just tried to use the colours of the train and put them on the best places possible on the train. So right now it's not quite right. I'll go back and change that again later on. I just had problems there with the track edit mod and the train falling off the track, but I've fixed that problem now. So I'm just going to go in and do the catwalks. So I've realised in a picture that the lift hill actually only has catwalks on one side, so I need to change that. I will do that at some point. At the moment I'm kind of near completing this build, and what I'm showing you now is obviously just the beginning, but there's a lot of things as I go along that I have to go back and change, and I'm making a list of all the things that need to be edited, changed, and I see a picture and I go, oh no, that's how it should be, so then I have to go back and change what I did. So that's like a continuing theme throughout this build. So I plan on putting a lot of detail into it, more than I normally would when building a park. When I build like a whole park, I try and put lots of detail into it, but I like to, you know, for the game to run well as well. And if you put so much detail into one ride, if you do that for a whole park, it really starts to lag and it becomes not really fun. So because this is just one ride, I'm planning on putting like lots of detail into it and trying to make it really, you know, look like the real thing. So I must say Raptor is one of my favourite inverts. It's a real close toss-up between Nemesis, Alton Towers, Montu at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay, and Raptor. I mean, they're all so different and so good. Like, Nemesis is so small, but it is so forceful. I really love it, and the way it's in the ground, like the whole thing is sunk in the ground, it's really amazing. Montu as well is just so big, and also it swoops into the ground in places, and it has all the kind of ditches and the tunnels and stuff, and that's a really good ride. Also love the theme. Raptor on the other hand doesn't really have much of a theme. It doesn't dip into the ground or anything, but it is the bigger one out of my favourites, and is definitely one of the most forceful ones. Like Cobra Roll was really forceful, and the corkscrews, actually the whole ride's forceful to be honest, and especially the last helix into the brakes, that's really got a lot of G-force on that bit. So I really like them all. But yeah, Raptor is up there with one of my favourites. I really enjoyed it. If any of you ridden it, let me know down below what you thought of the ride. I'm actually really interested to know other people's opinions on roller coasters, so yeah, it might be a little fun thing to do if you want to comment down below. Also, what's your favourite ride at Cedar Point? I haven't ridden Steel of Vengeance or anything, but mine has to be Maverick. It was definitely my favourite ride at Cedar Point. I thought it was going to be Millennium Force before going, and I mean Millennium Force was fantastic, but Maverick just was the cherry on the cake. It was the best ride there. So as I said before with another part that I built, when putting lots of detail into a ride like this, what I'm doing now, actually takes a very long time. So you may be watching me thinking, why is this taking so long? But it's because I'm trying to get every little bit of detail correct or looking realistic. So that's why some things take longer, like that little kind of catwalk section that I did at the bottom of the lift hill. Really took longer than it normally would have, just because of what I tried to do with it. So now I'm going to try and do these supports here. I'm using this new support mod that's on the Steam Workshop, and I realised, well, I've been told, and I actually realised from a photo as well, that the lift supports, the right side of them are actually straight, and so in this, as I build it, they're actually at an angle. So again, on my list, I will go back and change those to straight supports. But for now, I'm just kind of putting in the main structure. So there's no piece in the game that connects the horizontal and the vertical pieces. So I'm using a sphere from the Better Shapes set and kind of made it into correct size just to join the gap up. So basically repeat this over and over all the way up the lift hill. I've put those path pieces, as you can see there underneath the lift hill, just as a reference so I know where each support should go along the track. As you're building supports like this on a large lift hill, it gets really confusing where you want to put them, especially with the isometric view, and it's just, you can get really confused and you start building something, and then when you change the angle you realize that you actually didn't put it in the right place and it's not lined up. So that's why I put those path pieces there on the floor, just to give myself a reference to where I'm building in the air. So I'm looking at a photo of the Raptor lift hill as a reference to the supports, to see how many there are, where they go, which ones do what, and the different shapes of things. So I'm also using the footers here from the supports mod set, and then using the steel pipe from the Shy Guys dining set. I sink it into the ground to make it look like bolts. That's something that I've been doing for a while when building footers, so I've just kind of repeated that technique here with this lift hill. So this support in Raptor is actually a lot longer and it goes over the helix, so I tried to do that there. So that's basically all I'm going to show today. I have a lot of editing to do, especially with the lift hill support, so we'll go back in and do that. But overall, the track layout took me about an hour and a half, which is a little bit too long really for a layout. The loop took me 20 minutes alone, I think, trying to figure out how to get that looking good. But yeah, if you want to see more of this project, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video. I do plan on getting another episode of Raptor Recreation out soon. And also, if you want to see me do more recreations, I'm up for any suggestions, so leave me a comment in the comment section below of a ride that you would like me to recreate, and if there's good enough references and photos of that ride, then I shall look into recreating it if I have time. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.